Hello everyone, welcome to the garage. I'm Fast Rod, and in this video, it's going to actually be a shorter video, just because I've yet to figure out my vehicle breakdowns and what I'm going to be tackling on that end. So I'm going to be covering a much shorter topic that is still very pertinent um, to the Fallout franchise and something I've kind of noticed and a bit of a curiosity about it. And that is the atomic engines that are presented to us in the Fallout games. Um, the atomic engines are obviously not real. They don't exist in our real world. They are obviously, specifically made for the video games, and I don't know how much research or how much actual scientific knowledge was put behind the designs, but that's kind of that's gonna be a bit of a thing to cover and talk about later in this video. For the moment, that's kind of neither here nor there. Um, what I am here to point out, like I said, to start out is obviously they're not real. They don't actually exist. Uh, at least to my knowledge, they don't actually exist. Um, and they're not a real world item. You can't just buy one off of eBay or Craigslist or something. If you do, that's probably a fake and it's probably a prop. And if you paid a lot of money for it, yeah, you likely got scammed. Um, but beyond that, uh, another thing, given that I have an automotive background, I can't help but notice is that um, there are actually two models of nuclear or atomic engines, I should say. Two models of atomic engine. One of them, I believe, has been described as an atomic V8, and the other one we don't know is just described as engine. Um, what kind of engine? Is it a automotive engine, which is what you is kind of implied, or is it a uh, industrial engine? We don't know. The games never really clarify that, as far as I'm aware. Um, but one of them actually does somewhat resemble a real world V8, actually, of all things. It does have resemblance to a V8 or a V10, believe it or not. V10s, V12s, W16s, I guess, but that one's kind of out there. Um, kind of an out there thing, but yeah. The other like I said, V engines, V configuration engines. In case you didn't actually know, real world engines come in multiple configurations. There is your inline, which is literally the cylinders, which is part of what makes an engine. The cylinders, as they're described, are one behind the other in a line in line. Um, V shapes, V shape engines are obviously in a V shape. They look like a V. There are various styles of V because, believe it or not, you can actually either put them closer together or put them really spread apart. Um, hence the V. Um, there's also boxer engines or flat, flat six cylinder, two cylinder. Uh, I think there was an eight cylinder at some point. I'm not too entirely sure on that. Don't quote me, exactly on that. I it escapes me right now. But flat means they are pointing in opposite directions. Um, Literally, when one moves left, when one cylinder, two cylinders are usually connected on that. When one cylinder moves to the left, that usually pulls the other cylinder. And then when it moves back to the right, it usually pulls the first cylinder. So they are going in opposite directions, but just like described in Newton's third law, equal and opposite reaction. So when one goes one direction, the other cylinder is pulled by it, and then when it moves back, guess what? Now it's being pulled in the direction of the other. Um, that's flat. Um, I believe that is all the real world configurations. I could most definitely be wrong, but I believe that's it. As far as I'm aware, most auto manufacturers have yeah, either an inline 4, inline 5, inline 6, 8, 12, crazy engines like that. Um, V shape, there is a V4. I have heard the misconception that, oh yeah, V4, it's actually inline 4, what they're talking about, not a V4, though a V4 did exist. It was back in the 60s, 70s, somewhere around there. It was produced by Ford. I believe Detroit diesel engines do come in V4s, but I have not factually checked that. Um, and then, of course, you have your V6 and V8s. Sorry, getting a little distracted here. V6, V8s, and then you have flat engines. Flat engines, as I described, they come in, as far as I'm aware, they come in two cylinder, four cylinder, and 6 cylinder, and I believe that's currently it. There could be an 8 or more cylinder, but I don't think. If it is, it might be like some racing engine or something along those lines. Nothing in actual cars. Um, Nothing in mass production for car production. Um, but yes, that's and even at that, kind of going a little further into how real world engines work by taking fuel or gasoline, mixing it in with uh, the air we breathe and live off of, uh, and making it into a combustible gas and igniting that gas with an item called a spark plug. Makes an explosion, a controlled explosion, and then is promptly puffed out of the chamber. Um, that is how real world engines work. That's the technology we have. Of course, you have electric. Of course, electrics are just this big motor that spins, and usually it's right near or right somewhere by the tires or connected to the tires somehow through mechanical links, and thus spins the tires, and obviously the car moves and everything. Um, Real world, gasoline and diesel engines, they basically do the same thing, but they're not quite as direct as electrical engines. Um, Fallout engines, at least the ones that we have seen in the 3D Fallouts, don't seem to work on that. Very interesting that they don't work that way, or at least don't seem to work that way. Um, we haven't gotten a glimpse at any kind of atomic transmission or anything like that. So we kind of don't really know how atomic engines in Fallout transmit their power to the wheels. That's going to be an interesting topic for me to cover later. Um, but yeah, now um, an interesting fact about the engines demonstrated in the Fallout games, particularly Fallout 4 and Fallout 76, is that they show to have this big explosion if you shoot at it or you know, detonate it somehow. It does this big ol', mini nuke style explosion uh, that, obviously resembles a, atomic payload, atomic explosive payload. Um, that's actually quite inaccurate when you take into account that allegedly they are running or using the process of atomic fusion. Atomic fusion is different from what we are shown, which is, as far as I have it understood, atomic fission. Um, yeah, that's two different things. Atomic fusion means you're um, crashing specific, atoms together to make energy. Um, that's what we're told that the engines are doing. But as far as I have it understand I'm treading this topic lightly. If I seem to be talking a little skittishly, understand I don't want to be on the government's watch list for this information or for any information I seem to be giving out about atomic energy or anything of that nature. Um, as far as I have the theory of atomic fusion understood, I'm sorry, uh, you're crashing atoms into each other to make energy. You're not trying to separate them, which is atomic fission. Atomic fission is what the famous atomic payloads that were used during the, World War II era to end World War II precisely. They used a, theory called atomic fission. Atomic fission splits atoms apart and sets a chain reaction to continue that until the atomic payload has been consumed and you know and they run out of stuff to split and whatnot. um, that's how that works. That does produce the, mini nuke style explosion that we see in the game. Fusion wouldn't. Fusion, as far as I have it understood, at least the theory and the stuff that I know about the theory, and um, in our real world, we had something or have something called a atomic collider or something of that sort, where they were trying to actually do just that. They were trying to crash two atoms together. Um, from what I remember about that whole thing was they were scared of a, Simpson style black hole suddenly just going about in our world and sucking in random items and uh, maybe even ending the entire planet. Uh, that's what that would do. I would not do this big ol' mini nuke style fantasy explosion. I could be wrong. We don't have enough information on how those things work. I don't think Bethesda Game Studios would want to touch that subject, just like myself. Um, Scared of, any kind of repercussions, but whatever. Um, at the end of the day, I find it very weird that the cars and the, demonstrated engine explode. Um, I don't think that, you know, in any, you know, I don't think knowing the actual or only a handful of the theories behind that kind of technology. Once again, I don't have all the answers. I don't know all the information. So I can't say that, you know, I can't say one thing for certain or another, just because I'm not a scientist. I'm a mechanic. I don't know this stuff in super depth. Um, but I, I don't think they would have an explosion. I think it would just be a bunch of radiation just spewing out of a location, and then suddenly people feeling sick. What basically has happened with, involving nuclear technology in our real world. I think it would be safe to say that that kind of incidents and those kinds of things would be happening in the Fallout universe. But I don't know. I don't want to even claim to know. That's just what my personal thoughts on that matter are. It's something that's kind of been bouncing around in my head. I finally decided to go ahead and talk about it. Um, if you want to get any kind of, more accurate information on, atomic technology or nuclear technology, check out a YouTube channel uh, by a person named Kyle Hill. He has a multi parts, series of videos on atomic and nuclear technology. Um, that's kind of where I've gotten some of my information from. Um, you know, uh, Honestly, I've gotten most of my information from him and from his videos. Very interesting topic if you want to search it up on your own. Um, but yeah, that's kind of my 2 cents. I would, I would, if it's possible as well, I would be interested in hearing his take on how these atomic engines supposedly work, or what they even could work. Uh, so pertaining to the Fallout Powertrains series of videos that I will be doing, um, I will now obviously not be talking specifically how the engines work. I will likely be just mentioning the atomic engines, and instead I'll probably be talking about other components related to it, coolant lines, cooling radiators, and stuff like that. Other parts. I won't be delving into how those things work. Once again, I don't want to end up on the government's watch list, so um, I really don't. I really want to tread this particular subject a little lightly, very lightly, or not get into any kind of legal trouble here. Um, so those series of videos, I'll just be just kind of referring to the engine, but I won't actually be talking anywhere near how they operate or anything of that. I'll probably just be referencing all the external components that would be attached to that, or have some kind of interaction with that. I won't actually be talking about those directly. Um, with all this said, with me rambling on for about 20 minutes, thank you guys for watching. Thank you for listening. Um, this has been a bit of a sensitive topic. Once again, I want to tread lightly on this. I don't want to get into legal trouble or anything of that nature. Um, Thank you all for watching. I will see everyone in the next video.